Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.
It's Talking Sports with CJ and Fonz on SportsSlamRadio.com. It's sports hardcore and fully uncensored. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Talking Sports with CJ on SportsSlamRadio.com. Tonight, March 13th, big week of sports. We had NFL free agency, which is one of the greatest times of the year for football fans. March Madness is beginning, conference tournaments this week. The Heat have won 19 in a row. The Blackhawks streak's over. And baseball still in spring training, but getting very close to opening day. First thing I want to talk about, before we get Roman Oben on the show tonight, ex-Bucks left tackle who won a Super Bowl with the Bucks in 2002. And we're also going to have LaVon Kirkland on later from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who played for the Steelers and Eagles later on tonight. But I want to get into NFL free agency real quick. And what was the biggest move so far going into right now? And, you know, we've seen some big moves. We've seen a lot of guys get paid. Wes Welker, by the way, is a Bronco. That I can't believe. What a big loss for the Patriots. Losing Welker is huge. They don't realize how much that guy means for that offense. Big move for Denver. You put him in an offense with Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker. I mean, that's a dangerous Bronco offense. A team that finished the 1 seed in the AFC just got better today, getting Wes Welker. And New England's going to regret losing Welker. There's no doubt about that. We also saw the release of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick gone. What a bust he was from 2 years ago to now. We're talking about a guy that had a payday back in October of 2011. His team, I believe, started off like 3-0 that season, got paid, and just stunk totally. It's terrible after that. Tony Gonzalez is coming back, which is a shock. I thought he was going to retire when the Falcons lost in the NFC title game to the 49ers. He ended up retiring. And then we also saw Reggie Bush today get paid by the Lions. I don't know how he's going to fit in with the Lions, but they needed a running back, and Bush was a decent pickup. We're talking about a guy that rushed for, I believe, 2,000 yards the last 2 years combined. Decent pickup for the Lions. Not good. It's in the Bears division, but so I can hate Reggie Bush now. And the Bears also got better, getting Jermon Bushrod, the left tackle from the Saints, who will finally have protection on Cutler's blind side finally. Jamarcus Webb will not drive me crazy. I won't be pulling the frickin' hair out of my head this fall with him trying to block at left tackle because Bushrod is good, and that was a good pickup. And the Bears also getting Martellus Bennett at tight end. And finally, Kellen Davis is gone. And, oh, my God, the stone hands, the guy falls down on routes. He can't block. That guy, I never heard of a tight end that started that can't block or catch. It's pitiful. So he's gone. He got released today. But the big news coming out of Chicago is what's going to happen with Brian Urlacher. Is he coming back to the Bears? Is he going to sign elsewhere? And it's been very quiet on the Bears front and on Brian Urlacher's front of what's going to happen. We don't know if he's going to come back. Basically, Brian Urlacher's agent proposed a contract to the Bears. Do the Bears accept it? They did free up some money today. We saw them spend a lot of money on Bushrod, but they did free up some money releasing Kellen Davis, Matt Spaeth, and Matt Toena today. So that freed up some money, but I don't know if it's enough to sign Urlacher. So I'm curious to see if number 54 is going to finish his career as a Chicago Bear. So time will tell. Other big names. Nnamdi Asomugha got cut by the Eagles. This was a guy that was the prize free agent 2 years ago. Got picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles. Was a total bust in Philly after having a great career with the Oakland Raiders. And he is a free agent, and rumor has it there's 5 teams that have interest in Asomugha. The Arizona Cardinals have showed interest, I believe. The San Francisco 49ers, the Broncos are definitely, they've had interest in him. I'm trying to think of the other two. One's, the New Orleans Saints, and there was one more team, and I can't remember who it was, but 5 teams have interest in him. Oh, it's Houston Texans was the 5th team to have interest in Nnamdi. So we'll see. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got better getting Golson from the 49ers, a safety. He's a hard-hitting safety. Probably means the end of Rondé Barber's career as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. This rumor has it they may go after Darrelle Revis in a trade, but to get Darrelle Revis, it's going to take a first-round draft pick to get Revis. So we already had texts about what was the biggest free agent acquisition or news so far to my viewers, and one of my viewers, David, said the release of Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're talking about a Buffalo Bills fan that's very happy about Fitzpatrick getting released. But this is still, I mean, free agency is still early. I mean, we're seeing guys fly off the board. I mean, and teams are going to overpay for players. Teams are going to get better. Players are going to get overpaid because teams have to fill their needs. And you're talking about bidding against 4 to 5 other teams for each player. So you're going to overpay. And that's going to happen in free agency. And some of these guys that are getting big contracts, you're going to be wondering, like, what the heck? You know, are they worth that much money? I mean, as good as Joe Flacco was this season in leading the Ravens to the Super Bowl, he's still, I mean, $52 million is a lot of money guaranteed. I mean, that's a big, huge-ass contract. And then we saw some big trades in free agency so far. We saw Anquan Boldin, who said the Ravens were basically trying to restructure his contract, trying to have him to take less money than what he's getting. He said, hell no. They end up trading him to the 49ers. So Boldin going to the Niners. And then we had Percy Harvin, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, basically whined his way out of frickin' Minnesota, ripping Ponder, wanted a new quarterback. It's like, buddy, you're good, but you're not great. You're not in Brandon Marshall's class. You're not in that type of class. You're not in Calvin Johnson's class where you can make these demands of a high-priced wide receiver. But he did go to Seattle, Percy Harvin. Seattle did give up a lot, but they got better. I mean, Harvin is going to make the Seahawks a lot better team. So the NFC West, which used to be a laughingstock division, we're talking about when the Seahawks actually won the division back in 2010 with a 7-9 record. Now, we're talking about one of the better divisions in football because you have the 49ers coming off a Super Bowl loss, the Seahawks, who had a deep enough team to get to the Super Bowl. They were, one play away from going to the NFC title game. Then you got Arizona and the Rams, 2 upcoming teams. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be good next year. So, but especially if the Rams lose Steven Jackson. But 49ers, Seahawks are 2 dangerous teams. And 49ers better look out because Seattle is coming for them next year. They got great secondary, Richard Sherman. One of the best corners in the NFL. And if you haven't seen Richard Sherman, you have to go on Deadspin and check out him and Skip Bayless going at it last week during, was it that show they do? I think it used to be called Cold Pizza. I can't remember the name of the show, but Sherman basically ripped him an a-hole. I mean, just really bad. And Bayless came back cocky, just typical, cocky, arrogant self coming back at Sherman. But Sherman was and Sherman's arrogant. I mean, but he's putting up Pro Bowl type numbers, so he has the right to be arrogant. But he's called out Richard Sherman, this year. It's called out Darrelle Revis. He's called out Roddy White. So, I mean, he's definitely going to put a name in. He's definitely, I don't want to say a diva cornerback, but he is. But he can play. But he couldn't shut down Brandon Marshall. I'll never forget Marshall, that game against the Seahawks. End of the season, that big pass Cutler threw. Marshall over him, and I believe it was Earl Thomas, jumped over the 2 of them and came down with that pass. And I am rocking the Brandon Marshall jersey tonight. I still think, last year at this time, he was the biggest pickup, I think, in free agency when the Bears picked him up, and he put up the numbers to show it. And like I said, the Bears this year, decent players. There wasn't no Brandon Marshall type acquisition, but Bushrod is a good left tackle, Jermon Bushrod, and that's a big loss for the Saints, but he's coming over to the Bears. We saw Aaron Kruma come over from the Saints. He's going to be the Bears' offensive coordinator, so Bushrod is familiar with Comer, and we'll have to see what happens in Chicago. But the big news with Urlacher, what's going to happen in the next couple of days, is he coming back to the Bears? We are going to have, like I said, Levon Kirkland on the show later on. He'll be coming on around 8:05 tonight, and Levon is just beast of a linebacker. We're talking about a 275-pound linebacker. Played 8 or 10 years with the Steelers, played for the Eagles on that Super Bowl. A team that lost to the Bucs in the NFC title game in 2002. And then he finished his career with Mike Holmgren in the Seattle Seahawks. So, Kirkland, I'm looking forward to talking to him. And we're talking about a guy that was an all-decade linebacker, too. Played with Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, some great Steeler teams in the mid to late 90s. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. Touching back on free agency one more time, because this is a big topic. NFL is always going to dominate my show. I know NBA is going on, NHL, college basketball, baseball, but NFL is always going to dominate the show. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. So, it's just NFL is the king sport, and that's what we'll talk about to start tonight. I want to also talk about the Baltimore Ravens. The Super Bowl champions took some big hits in free agency so far. Big hits. Granted, Flacco's back. They lose Bolden, though. They're one of their best offensive weapons to the 49ers. Ed Reed's going to be gone. That's already been known. He's going to meet with Houston tomorrow. San Francisco has interest in Ed Reed. He's gone. Bernard Pollard is supposed to get released. Their hard-hitting safety, who's one of the best hitters in the NFL, who strikes fear into most receivers in the NFL, he's gone. Ray Lewis retired, the captain of the defense. That's a big loss. They lost Kruger, who had a huge playoffs for the Ravens. He signed with the Cleveland Browns and had his payday. And then, of course, they lost Ellerbe, too, the other linebacker. We're talking about a guy that was an undrafted free agent, ended up becoming a starter with the Ravens, had a big year. He got paid in Miami. So, I mean, all those losses, all those guys on defense are going to take its toll on the Ravens. Who's the biggest loss? I mean, Bolden's big. Don't get me wrong. Anquan Bolden is a great wide receiver. But when you lose Ray Lewis, sweet Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, those two are the leaders of that defense. They're the heart of that defense. They make that defense go. They're the engine of that defense. And losing them, it's a big loss. I mean, Ray Lewis is huge, what he brings to the table for that team, and they're going to feel that this season. He might have been down. He might have not put up the same numbers he has in past seasons, but he is definitely the heart and soul of that defense. And Ed Reed has been around since 2002. Players look up to these guys, and you don't realize, even though their skills might have declined, people don't realize like what leadership brings. Guys look up to these guys. They want to play for these guys. When these guys are trying to fire you up in a defensive huddle, I mean, Ray Lewis comes back from tearing his tricep early. And, I mean, the players see that, these young guys, and they see, wow, this aging veteran, 37-year-old linebacker can come back. Why? I mean, we got to play hard for him. It's his last year. So that's going to be hard. But I still think the Ravens will be a great team. Flacco's getting better. They have Ray Rice at running back. So, granted, they're going to be good offensively, but I still question some of their defensive losses, which is they're going to feel this year. So, like I said, Ray Lewis is definitely hands down the biggest loss for the Ravens. I want to talk about some wide receivers, and the one that got paid the most in this free agency so far, Mike Wallace, formerly of the Steelers, got paid in Miami. Mike Wallace, I don't know if he's worth this much money. 5 years, $60 million, $30 million in guarantees. We're talking about a guy that's been to one Pro Bowl. Miami definitely overpaid for Mike Wallace. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. They overpaid for him. I mean, is he worth that much? Not $30 million in guarantees, but he's going to help the Dolphin offense. But who's going to throw him the damn ball? I mean, unless you're sold on Tannehill, I'm not. Who's going to get him the ball? He doesn't have Big Ben getting him the ball anymore. So we'll see what Mike Wallace does in Miami. I don't know. I still think Miami's not going to be. They're going to be a mediocre team at best, unless they have a great draft. They are losing Jake Long, the left tackle. So, but Mike Wallace definitely got paid. We talked about Bolden going to the 49ers. He's going to help that team. We're talking about an offense that already has Frank Gore, Kaepernick, the quarterback, who had a great year, and he's only going to get better. Tight end, you have Vernon Davis, and then you have Michael Crabtree at the other wide receiver. So Bolden is going to make this 49er team dangerous. We're talking about a veteran who comes up big in playoff games, who's a huge target. We're talking about a guy that's 6'2", 225-pound wide receiver. And then we're talking about, and then the other big wide receiver, besides Welker going to the Broncos, is what we talked about was Percy Harvin. So, and then Welker to the Broncos. So those four wide receivers were the big free agent wide receivers that ended up getting traded or signing with different teams. And what is the biggest move? I'm going to say Welker, hands down. Welker, I think, is the best free agent acquisition so far. I mean, Denver, Manning to Welker is going to be a dangerous, dangerous combination. What he's going to do for that team, Denver's definitely the scary team. And the Patriots, they're going to miss Welker. I mean, I know he's had some key drops. He had a key drop against the Ravens in the AFC title game. He had a key drop in the Super Bowl 2 years ago against the New York Giants, but they're going to miss Welker, and I'm surprised they didn't try to keep him. And people close to Brady, I was reading on Pro Football Talk, were surprised, were angered that Welker, like New England, didn't even try to bring him back. But if you want to call in tonight, talk about who you think your favorite NFL acquisition is, you can call in at 727-493-2055. You can text me at 727-278-9814. I also want to talk about, sticking the NFL side real quick. We got a little bit into Fitzpatrick, Ryan Fitzpatrick of the Buffalo Bills getting cut. I mean, this is a guy that, after he signed his big contract with the Buffalo Bills in October of 2001, he got signed to 6 years, $59 million. We're talking about a guy that was 20-33 as a starter, didn't get the job done, and Buffalo hasn't had a quarterback since Jim Kelly. I know Flutie had his couple years in Buffalo. They tried the Rob Johnson thing. He bombed out. I know my buddy, he's a big Buffalo fan, can definitely agree with me that since Jim Kelly retired, Buffalo has not had a quarterback. You've seen wasted draft picks they've had over the years on quarterbacks that were just terrible. And now Fitzpatrick, and I knew when they threw all this money at him, they should have waited. Let him play out the season. You don't give a guy $56 freaking million for 6 years or whatever it was. Yeah, 6 years, $59 million. I'm sorry. After 3 games, and I mean, the guy did not play for a big college school. He's Ivy League guy. I mean, smart guy, but just not meant to be an NFL quarterback. And he was released. And Chan Gailey getting fired, definitely. He was Fitzpatrick's biggest supporter. When he got canned, the writing was on the wall that Fitzpatrick was going to get released. Same thing we said about Nnamdi Asomugha for the Philadelphia Eagles getting released. This was a guy that Eagles was supposed to be in the, quote, dream team of the Eagles, that Vince Young called it, when all the the prize prospects signed with the Eagles back in 2011, and didn't work out. Phillies hasn't made the playoffs the last 2 years. There was no dream team. They 2 years ago, they went 8-8. Last year, when they go 7-9, 6-10, I can't remember. Actually, no, it was a 4-12. They had a bad year last year. Andy Reid was fired. They bring in Chip Kelly. So, and Asomugha he got burnt. He got burnt. There's a lot of games where he got burnt like toast. I saw the game against the Giants. Victor Cruz smoked him. He wasn't the same corner. And it's easy playing in Oakland. The media in Oakland is not the same as playing in Philly. Philly's a large market. You're talking about a hostile environment. Fans can turn on you right away in Philly. You can ask any Philly athlete. We're talking about a city that freaking booed Santa Claus. So, they booed Michael Irvin. The guy's freaking knocked out on the ground, and they're booing him. Booing. Actually, at that time, they were cheering that he was injured. What? And they were talking about his fans that threw beer at Joe Madden's daughter during the World Series in 2008 for baseball. So, his granddaughter or whatever, daughter, I can't remember, but threw beer on her, and we're talking about a 10-year-old kid. So, Philly fans are brutal, and they let Asomugha hear it this year. Philly media ripped him apart. So, but I was shocked they released him because, they still owed him money, but he will get picked up, and he'll probably resurrect his career somewhere. He needs to go to a team like Houston, a defense that's already strong. You throw him in a defense on Houston with J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing, Antonio Smith. Maybe he'll play better, but just didn't work out in Philly. So, but it definitely surprised me, his release, but we'll see. Not teams are jumping on his door like they were 2 years ago. That's for damn sure. What to look for now in free agency? Some of the things that could happen. Are the Bucs going to trade for Darrelle Revis? That's one of the big things. Revis will make them will give them credibility on defense. We're talking about a secondary that was terrible last year. The cornerbacks couldn't cover me if I was playing wide receiver. They were just terrible secondary. And Revis, you already have Golson. You bring in Revis, you're talking about a secondary, that Bucs defense and secondary that's going to get good overnight. What else is going to happen? Where's Ed Reed going to end up? We're talking about a veteran safety, him and Charles Woodson. What teams are they going to end up on? Is Ed Reed going to go to the Texans? Charles Woodson's visiting the 49ers. Where are they going to end up? Where's Steven Jackson going to go? The Packers have interest in Steven Jackson, which would suck for this Bears fan because I do not want Steven Jackson in our division. We already said about Urlacher. Is he going to be a Bear? Or can you even envision Brian Urlacher playing with a different uniform, with a different team? I couldn't. We're talking about a guy that's been a Bear since 2000. That was 21 years old when he came to the league, and now he's 35. That's played for the Bears that long, and I couldn't imagine him with a different uniform on. Where does Jake Long end up? We heard the Rams threw the left tackle a big contract, but rumors have it his agent said he hasn't signed a contract. So does Jake Long go to the St. Louis Rams? The Eagles had interest in him, but they've kind of backed out a little bit. So where's Jake Long going to end up? We're talking about one of the most marquee left tackles on the market. We're talking about a guy that went #1 draft pick for the Miami Dolphins, Pro Bowl selection, struggled a little bit last year, but still, any quarterback wouldn't mind him blocking their blind side. So Jake Long's still available. So those are some of the big names to look forward to with free agency still occurring right now. And we're going to see what happens. The next couple of days are going to answer a lot. And then we have the draft. So, and by then we'll see what teams look good on paper. Because looking good on paper is always not the same as looking good on the field. We saw the Eagles 2 years ago. I thought the Bears last year on paper were a Super Bowl team. They had that 7-1 start, then they fell to 10-6. So being a great team on paper does not matter. It depends how you play on the field. That's the big thing. It's the results have to happen on the field. Anybody can freaking draw up a team and say, wow, we're going to win. But Sometimes a lot of great players don't click together. Sometimes it's too many egos. Sometimes, I mean, you look at in baseball, Moneyball, the whole movie, what the Oakland A's did. They brought in small name players that clicked and they made the playoffs. So you don't always have to have great big name players to be a champion. It's how you click in a system, how players respect each other, how they want to play for each other, and if they trust each other as teammates. So free agency, we'll have to see what happens the rest of the way. I'll be following it. I've had ProFootballTalk.com on my phone all day today. I want to get into the Miami Heat and their win streak. 19 games. 19. Are you starting to believe in the Heat? Dangerous, more dangerous than ever. We're talking about a team that could threaten the Lakers' 33-game win streak from 1971 to 72. I mean, they're only at 19, but the way this team is playing, 14 games away from tying it, it's not much. I mean, they're just beating teams down. They beat down the Pacers on Sunday night. They beat down the Hawks last night. They are just beating down decent teams. And the one team they almost lost to was the freaking Orlando Magic last week. They took a buzzer beater by LeBron to keep the streak going. How do you beat down the Pacers and the Thunder during the streak, but barely beat the Magic, who are terrible this year, who don't even have traded Redick away, don't even have Glenn Davis, and you almost lose to them? So I can't understand sports sometimes. This is the longest win streak in an NBA season since the 07-08 Celtics, who, as we know, ended up beating the Lakers in the finals that season. We've seen them, like we said, they beat Indiana. Absolutely, this team can catch the Lakers. I'm saying it right now. They can catch the Lakers streak. This team has got a lot of stars. 3 players that could be a star in any team in the NBA. We're talking about Wade, LeBron, even Chris Bosh could be a star in a lot of teams in the NBA. So this is a team. And then you have role players like Mario Chalmers. I mean, guys like even the Shane Battiers that can step up and play. I mean, LeBron carries this team to a different level. He's almost like Jordan, where he's starting to make players around him better. Guys that you wouldn't think that still had it. Like when Jordan made Paxson better. He made Steve Kerr better. Everybody wanted to play good for Jordan. And we're starting to see that with LeBron. He's getting that aura about him, like a Michael Jordan. They've won 12 of their last 19 games in the streak by at least 10 points. That's mind-staggering. 10 of their 19 victories have come against teams that are in the playoff race. So they're beating down good teams. We saw them beat the Bulls a few weeks ago. I mean, they're definitely the team to beat going into the playoffs, and I can't see a team in the East that can stand on the court with them right now. The West, I mean, maybe Oklahoma City and possibly maybe the next team I'm going to get into, the Lakers. What about those Los Angeles Lakers? Everybody had them dead 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they just rise. And Dwight Howard's starting to play really good. I mean, last night, 39 points against his former team. There's a video I saw, though, on Deadspin where he said a Magic fan was talking crap to him in the stands, and he's like, your mom or something. I mean, come on, Dwight. Really? Classy. I mean, but he had a great game last night. He came to Orlando. He came with a guy, what a guy on a mission. He shut that Magic team up, the fans up, 39 points. Best performance of the season for Howard, but you know he was going to come play. You know the fans were going to boo him. Every time he touched the ball, they booed, and you knew he was going to put in a big performance against the Magic, against his ex-team, a team he spent 8 years, a team he took to the finals in 2009, but he has the Lakers going. Kobe Bryant is playing out of this world. Last week, 2 games in a row, he had over 40 points. The Lakers are 34-31. They are the 8th seed right now. They're creeping upon the 7 and 6 seed. There's not one team in the West, I don't care if it's the Thunder, the Spurs, the Clippers, that would want to play Kobe in a 7-game series. I mean, granted, the Lakers have been down, but it's Kobe Bryant. It's that different. He's the closer. He's the Black Mamba. I mean, he's still the best basketball player in the NBA. I don't care if you're saying right now one guy that could hit a buzzer beater and you want him on the floor with 5 seconds left. Who do I want on the floor? It would be Kobe Bryant. There's no doubt about it. Not to take anything away from LeBron or Kevin Durant, but it's still Kobe Bryant. Since the Lakers lost to Memphis, they were 8 games under 500 when they lost to Memphis about a month and a half ago. Since then, 17-6 since that 8 games under 500. So they've woke up. Over the past 11 games, Howard is averaging 14.8 rebounds, 2.6 blocks a game. He's playing defense. That's why they brought Dwight Howard in, was to play defense, not to be an offensive star. Leave that to Kobe, and that's what they're doing. And Kobe, in that same span, is averaging 30.2 points a game. Jordan S. numbers, 7.2 assists. He's dishing the ball. So Kobe's sticking to his offensive game. Dwight Howard's sticking to his defensive game. And they're making this Laker team go. And Paul Gasol's coming back. I believe he's coming back next week, so that's only going to make the Lakers even better. So they're a dangerous team, and I mean, and could they make the finals? I don't know. 2 weeks ago, I said no. My buddy Guido, who calls in the show, said the Lakers are going to finals. I laughed, and I'm a Laker fan, but now I'm starting to believe. You knew sooner or later a team with Nash, Dwight Howard, and Kobe were going to heat up. But I still wonder, though, if Phil Jackson was the coach. If Phil Jackson was coaching this team right now, I would say they're going to the finals. But I'm still not sold on Mike D'Antoni. His team's fading the playoffs. We saw him with the Suns. They had some great teams in 2004, 2005. They faded in the playoffs. So I'm just not a believer in Mike D'Antoni. Guido, if you're listening, you want to rub it in my face about the Lakers, 727-493-2055. I don't know, maybe he's working tonight. He'd be bragging about the Lakers right now if he was around. We're going to get LeVon Kirkland at 8:05 tonight. Bunch of things I want to still get into. A lot happened this week in sports, and one of the big things that's happening, started last night, is the conference tournaments for NCAA basketball. This is one of the best times of the year to be an NCAA basketball fan. We're talking about conference tournaments all the way till Sunday. Selection Sunday on Sunday for the 68 teams down the tournament. And then March Madness begins next Thursday night. In 8 days, March Madness, the tournament, the road to the Final Four. It's an open road, I should say. I never thought Gonzaga would be number one with 1 week to go going into in March Madness. And they clinched their conference title. So they are going to probably be the one team overall going into March Madness, which is freaking unbelievable, mind-boggling. Some of the things to look for, the Big East tournament. How important is it? If Louisville or Georgetown, who have to win this conference tournament in the Big East, one of those two teams could get to the final, could get a number one seed, I should say. Not jump too far to the Final Four, but one of those two teams could get a Final Four. And just to think, Georgetown back in early January lost to frickin' USF, and this was a team that was not ranked at the time. And Otto Porter's carried this Georgetown team. They're a dangerous team, and they could get a 1 if they win the Big East tournament. Same thing with Louisville. The Big Ten tournament, we saw Indiana beat Michigan on Sunday. Huge win on the road up in Ann Arbor. Indiana's the team to beat in the Big Ten tournament. If they win, they're guaranteed a 1. Cody Zeller will have this team ready. And what was Tom Crean ripping one of the Michigan's assistants who was with Indiana during the whole violation era, ripping this guy and want to almost fight him? I mean, Tom Crean's a badass. I mean, if you watch the video, check that out. He apologized for ripping a guy, but Tom Crean's a badass. He's the brother-in-law of Jim and John Harbaugh, who are badasses and hardasses, and he gets it right from them. He's married to their sister. So Tom Crean, different side of him I saw on Sunday. The ACC tournament, Duke or Miami. Duke put a beat down on frickin' UNC Saturday night. We saw Ryan Kelly since he came back. Duke is back. The Dukies are looking good. They're heating up at the right time. And Miami's starting to go in a different direction. We're talking about a team, they did win the outright conference tournament, but some bad losses down the stretch. Losing to Wake Forest. They got beat by Duke, and they had one more loss along the way. I can't remember who it was, but Miami is, I mean, I don't know. I still like Duke to come out of this ACC tournament. One of those two teams will get a 1 seed if they win this tournament. So that's a good tournament to look for. The SEC. Can Florida show that they're not an overrated team? We're talking about a Florida Gator team that basically didn't score in the last 7 minutes of that game against Kentucky. So what are they going to do? And bubble teams like Tennessee, who has to win, have a strong showing in the SEC tournament to get in. So a lot of the bubble teams to look for. But this is the big thing about March, these conference tournament. This is the last Big East tournament, which is going to be sad. It sucks for college basketball. It's Big East tournament's always been big. It's been at Madison Square Garden since '83, the mecca of sports. And we're going to really miss the Big East tournament. This is the last one. You think about the stars the Big East have produced. Allen Iverson, Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, Ray Allen, Alonzo Mourning, Carmelo Anthony. Great names. Great rivalries. Syracuse against Georgetown, Connecticut, Georgetown, and the memories of the Big East tournament. Ray Allen versus Allen Iverson in '96, the final of that game, Georgetown versus UConn. The 6 overtime game in 2009 with Syracuse and UConn. Providence Colleges, for all you Rhode Island fans, back in '94, upsetting Connecticut and Georgetown to win the Big East tournament in '94. And, I mean, we've seen huge performances. Kemba Walker helping Connecticut win 5 games in 5 days. A team that was on the bubble 2 years ago to gets them into the NCAA tournament, and then they win the whole damn thing. So we're going to miss the Big East tournament. Last one. I also want to get into the Blackhawks. This was a team that had a 30-game win streak going. They didn't lose a game in regulation in 30 games. Have lost 2 in a row now. They looked terrible Friday night against the Colorado Avalanche. Then they lost Sunday to the Edmonton Oilers. But should we worry? No. One thing you have to worry about, though, is Corey Crawford was bad on Friday night, and he looked like the Crawford of the playoffs of last year, and the same Crawford that was hot and cold. And you got to pray he don't do that, because if he does, the Hawks might win a series or 2, but they're not going to get to the finals. They need Crawford to step up. They need goalkeeping. They have the stars. They have the firepower in offense with Kane, Taves, Hossa. They have the stars, but they have to get the goaltending. And the other thing I noticed watching this Hawks team on Friday night, they're a soft team. Colorado beat them down, beat them up, hit them. Blackhawks didn't do nothing. They got to get more physical, because if they run into a physical team in the playoffs in a 7-game series, they're going to get knocked out. We saw Hossa get knocked out by Torres. None of the Hawk players did crap. I mean, they're going to be more physical in these for the rest of the season, or they're going to be in for a long season, but I don't think it's panic time. So we had 2-game losing streak. I mean, no one get there, in a bunch, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't worry about the Hawks. They're still the best team in the league, so I think they'll be back. They get a 3-day rest. They come back on Thursday night. They'll be ready. They played 7 games in 10 days. That's a lot. That's a long stretch. They were tired, fatigued, but they'll be back. I also want to talk about what is up with Roy Halladay. He got hit so hard on Tuesday, which was yesterday, against the Detroit Tigers. Lit up. Gave up 7 runs in 2 2/3 innings. He struggled last year. Poor mechanics on Tuesday, his pitching coach said. Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Phillies, is worried. What's going to happen with Halladay? What's going on with Halladay? They need him. If the Phillies want to compete in the National League East and catch the Nationals and compete against the Braves, they have to have a healthy, strong, great performance by Halladay this year, because Cliff Lee had a down year last year. Those 2 guys got to carry this pitching staff along with Cole Hamels. Last year, basically, Halladay, 11 wins, second worst in his career. ERA of 4.49. That's not going to get it done this season. It showed last year. The Phillies finished around, they were under 500 most of the season. It took a strong ending of the season to get to 500. It's not, if that happens this year, there's going to be a lot of changes in Philly. We know the Philly market. They don't, like we said earlier, how they talk about the Eagles, the media, how they rip the Eagles if they don't play good. The same thing with the Phillies. This was a team that won the World Series in 2008, was in the World Series in 2009, made the NLCS in 2010. I mean, this is a team that basically they have to win now. Halladay's 35. Cliff Lee's up there in age, so not a good showing. I'd be worried if I was a Philly fan right now. I also want to talk about real quick the Yankees trying to bring in Chipper Jones and Derek Lee, the ex-Cub. I mean, the Yankees are getting desperate. I know they're depleted with injuries. What are they going to? Who's next? Ken Griffey Jr., Wade Boggs, Roger Clemens. I mean, how many more old veterans are the Yankees going to bring in? I mean, come on. Chipper Jones is retired. He's got bad knees. And they were disappointed he didn't want to play for them. I mean, the guy's enjoying his offseason. I mean, he's enjoying his retirement. I don't know. The Yankees are just panicking. We're talking about being in the, like we said before, the AL East. And right now, it's not a good start. And Yankee fans, they need to be more worried than Philly fans at this point. There's desperation already. Desperation is from playing in the American League East. That's the desperation you get when you're competing against the Boston Red Sox, an up-and-coming Blue Jays team, last year's playoff team, the Baltimore Orioles, and you're competing against the Tampa Bay Rays. So there is desperation on the Yankee side right now. And Joe Girardi might not say there's desperation, and Brian Cashman, the GM, but there is. You don't reach out to aging veterans unless there's desperation. Teixeira's out. Curtis Granderson's out. A-Rod's still out. Jeter's not 100%. So this is an aging team that's stockpiled for so many years with aging veteran free agents that it's starting to take its toll. And Yankees are in some trouble. We're going to try to get Levon Kirkland on the phone right now. The ex-Steeler, ex-Philadelphia Eagle, ex-Seattle Seahawk. See if we can get him on. All the Steeler fans. Blitzburg. Steel Curtain. Going once, going twice, sold.
Hello?
Hello, Levon. It's CJ from Talking Sports with CJ. How are you tonight?
Hey, CJ. What's happening?
Oh, I'm glad to have you on, man. Always a big fan of Levon Kirkland. 275-pound linebacker. I mean, like I said, I've always been a Bears fan, but I respected your play.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. I want to get into your career. You were an All-American at Clemson.
Right.
You were drafted second round, 38th pick overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1992. We've seen Pittsburgh have a strong history with linebackers before you came. We're talking about Ham, Lambert. Then you played with Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, a team that's always been rich in linebackers in their history. What was it like going to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
What was it like? What
was it like getting drafted by a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh, it was an awesome experience. You think about the organizations and how many Super Bowls they won prior to the time I got drafted. It was definitely an honor and a blessing. And I wanted them to draft me. I really did. I remember before I got drafted and the Steelers' second round pick was coming up, which was a 38th pick, I went into the bathroom and I just stared in the mirror and I'm like, they're going to pick me. They're going to pick me. They're going to pick me. I went and I walked to the phone, and sure enough, the phone rang, and it was Pittsburgh Steelers, and they made a wise choice to draft a kid from Clemson, and I'm really happy to have been a part of that rich linebacker history.
Now, you played for Bill Cowher. I believe 92 was also his first season with the Steelers.
Yes, it was. So
you saw him grow as a coach from his rookie year as a coach to going taking you guys to the Super Bowl in 95, 96 season. I've seen Cowher on the sidelines many times. I mean, when he coached, the face, the look he had, firing you guys up. I've seen on NFL films, like when he's mic'd. I mean, what was it like playing for an intense type of coach like Bill Cowher?
Honestly, it wasn't any different than, playing college ball. It's really about the coach knowing how to motivate you. I thought Bill did an excellent job of motivating us, especially a young coach like that. You could tell the energy was there. He was genuine with his emotions. It wasn't fake. Players can tell if it's fake or not. So, it was a pleasure playing for him, man. It was like playing for like an older brother. It really was. He did a good job of engaging with us and making football fun. And I think that's why we played so well for him, because he understood players. He comes from a player's background, and I think he felt he really had the pulse of the players, and he knew how to direct us in the right way. Very smart man.
And you also played for Dick LeBeau, who's one of the greatest defensive coordinators in NFL history. What was it like playing for LeBeau? I mean, that defensive system, Blitzburg. I mean, he's just a great coach.
Dick was Coach LeBeau was just really innovator at his time. I mean, he tried to find a different way to solve a problem, and he did, and it was aggressive. It was an aggressive type of defense, but it was a defense that did a lot of disguise, a defense that really attacked the offense. And that's what you want. You want to be aggressive as a player. And he allowed us to be aggressive, and he did some different things that at the time nobody's doing. A lot of people are doing it now, but at the time no one was doing it. And we caught a lot of people off guard.
Now I want to talk about the 94 season. You guys, the divisional round, you put a beat down on the Browns, your rival, and then you guys played the San Diego Chargers, which were you guys were heavily favored in that game at Three Rivers. Did you guys get a little overconfident playing that Charger team in that AFC title game?
I think we did. I mean, we knew coming in. We were playing so well at the time. I mean, our defense was lights out. We had all the parts. When you have a team that you feel like we had no weaknesses on that team, and San Diego had nothing to lose at the time, and I think we made a classic mistake of maybe overlooking those guys and not playing them as well as we could. We kept them in the game. If you recall that game, we actually came out, we scored them right away, and we stopped them. But those guys hung around, and one big play, two really big plays hurt us. The long pass to Tony Martin, and they had a long pass to the tight end, and that's the way they got us. They got us on big plays, and we actually drove down to like the 3-yard line.
Yep.
We had an opportunity to win that game at the very end, just could not punch it in, and that game was heartbreaking. That was one of the I'd say for me, emotional loss. You're that close to the Super Bowl. You're supposed to be there. You can envision it. You get that close, and not to get there, it really was a lesson.
I believe it was Dennis Gibson, I want to say, knocked that last pass down in the middle of the end zone.
Oh, man.
Yep.
It was a pass that it's like we kind of panicked on. It's like, we never threw the Barry out of the backfield. And in a very crucial situation, he throws the Barry function. And not saying that Barry wouldn't maybe caught the ball, but we never threw the Barry out of the backfield. So, it was kind of like, wow, we had an opportunity at the 3-yard line. You would think the guys that we had could punch that thing in, but give credit to San Diego. They played really well.
And I would have loved that year because your defense was so damn good that year and played a 49ers offense that year who, had Steve Young had the huge MVP year. That would have been a great Super Bowl.
That would have been a battle. I mean, you're talking about, two juggernauts going at each other. And as you look at the game and you look at San Diego, you're like, oh, my God, they're going to get killed.
Oh,
it was almost embarrassing to watch them play, knowing that you had that opportunity to play and knowing that, that you were a better matchup, that it wouldn't have been, Steve Young might have lost that game.
Right. Oh, yeah,
easily.
But,
that's the way it happened. And, I think it makes you understand that when you have opportunities, you have to really take advantage of them. And, the next year we got an opportunity and we went into the Super Bowl.
Right, and we're going to get into that in a second. But, that Super Bowl, you bring up San Diego, San Francisco. I want to say it was 18-point spread in a Super Bowl game, which is unbelievable, and they covered.
Unbelievable, yeah. Well, I mean, it was San Francisco was obvious. They were the obvious, and they were going to play well. So, and they did. And, we just couldn't. We just couldn't get it done when we had a chance to get it done. I think San Diego was so happy to win the AFC Championship that they might have been a little hungover going to that Super Bowl.
Right.
I think they were just happy to be there.
Right. At that point. But the following season, you guys, I believe you beat Buffalo in the divisional round pretty handily.
Right.
And then you guys played the Colts, who came out of nowhere in the playoffs with Captain Comeback Jim Harbaugh, who happens to be the 49ers coach. And I want to go to that game, that AFC title game. I'll never forget that, watching that game and that last play. As you must know, the Hail Mary that was almost caught.
Right.
What's going through your mind during that play?
I mean, they really hung in there too. We were a slight favorite in that game, but we didn't take that game for granted. We knew that it was going to be a tough, hard-fought battle, and we were at a point, man. We were 4th and 3. Back to the same situation. We actually got the first down. Then Ernie Mills made a fantastic catch to put us in great scoring position. We scored, but, Jim drove those guys down there. And when that ball went in the air, you just like, please, God, don't let them catch it. But it seemed like it hung there forever. And when it was, when they were battling for the ball, man, I thought at one point, oh, my God, he caught it.
It was on his lap. Was it Bailey, I believe?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was on his lap, and he was like, "Oh boy, that was close." But the referee's in a great position, and the ball did come out, it did touch the turf. So, man, great call, man. We go to the Super Bowl. Very happy day that day.
What would have went through you? I mean, what would have happened though? Imagine losing that type of game, like going to the offseason on a Hail Mary. That would have been.
It would have been. That would have been heartbreaking, of course. I mean, it's almost like, man, that's more than we could take at the time. I think it would have been like a heartbreak. You might have seen some people jumping off the bridges. I'm telling you, it would have been that kind of day. So, luckily for us and fortunate for us, we didn't have to go through that. But, man, it was close. It really was.
We're on the phone with Levon Kirkland, ex-Steeler linebacker, ex-Eagles linebacker, and also ex-Seahawks linebacker. I want to ask you now, getting to that Super Bowl with Dallas. We knew how good Dallas was that year. Emmett, Troy, Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek, the tight end. But you guys defensively really held your ground against a big Cowboy offensive line, too, with Larry Allen and Nate Newton. You guys held them, I believe, to 59 yards rushing, I believe, in that Super Bowl?
Yeah, we actually had a great game as far as stopping their offense. I think they came out in the first drive and they drove Dallas to score. I think we were kind of nervous and, really excited at the time. But once we kind of settled in, they couldn't really do anything against us. Their scoring opportunities came off turnovers, and that was unfortunate. But, man, we were ready. And I have to say, especially myself, I was really ready to prove a point to the world about what kind of linebacker I was and what kind of linebacker we were. And it was kind of funny at the time that, you know, my career was up and coming, but I really started playing more for the team. That earlier that year, I struggled a little bit because I wanted to. It was more about me, and I wanted to be more up front. And then when I gave that up and said, "Hey, you know, I'm just going to play to win. I don't care what happens. I don't care how many tackles I make, as long as we win the game and I help us win the game." That's when my career kind of turned around. And in that game, Matt Millen, at the time, was a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
He played for the Raiders. I think he played for the Redskins. And he gave me the greatest advice ever. And he just told me to trust my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started trusting my eyes, I became much a better, more aggressive player. And it was a shame, man, because I thought, you know, I had an opportunity to maybe win the MVP on that one, but it didn't work out that way. But for me, had a great game. But, man, I think about that all the time. I wish we'd have won that Super Bowl. I really do.
Yeah, and, you know, one of the greatest moments in that Super Bowl was when Bill Cowher called the onside kick. That was one of the greatest calls, catching Dallas off guard with that onside kick.
Well, I tell you what, he gets the credit for that, but actually I think Bobby April, the special team coach, actually came to Bill just before and said, "What do you think about the onside kick?" And he kind of thought about it for a second. So he, I hate to bust his bubble, but Bobby April was the one who kind of followed.
Was it?
And but I got to give him as a head coach. He had the nerve to call that. He was young enough and brave enough to call that. I think most more experienced coaches wouldn't have called it. And I don't really know that many teams that might have, you know, tried that onside kick at that moment. And I think he was maybe the first one to do it. But, man, it was an awesome call. It was a great call. And I think it definitely changed the momentum. We went down and we scored. We stopped them. We had an opportunity to go ahead, and that's when the interception happened. But, man, that really did change momentum. And that really helped us as far as getting within 3 points of maybe winning the Super Bowl.
You guys had Bam Morris that year. He was a beast, the running back. He had that whole season for you guys at running back. He was awesome that year for the Steelers.
Yeah, Bam was a good runner. Bam was a tough-nosed kid, a young kid at the time too, and was really on his way. I mean, really playing well, and you know, I think we should have fed him the ball a lot more. The results might have been different. We kind of, for some reason, went into a pass mode, but he did a good job of running the ball and moving the sticks for us, and ran really hard. And you know, whatever people say, man, you still need a good running game. If you have a good running game, that wears down the defense physically. And I think at one point we were kind of wearing down on Dallas defense, and that was a good defense. I mean, you got guys like Charles Haley and Deion Sanders and the guys they had. They had a really good defense. So, you know, I thought we played decent enough and really played winning football. 2 turnovers hurt us in that game.
Do you think Neil O'Donnell took too much heat after that Super Bowl? Because I know a lot of the media ripped him in Pittsburgh, saying that the 2 interceptions and who was he throwing it to. But do you think he took too much heat in that game from the media?
I think, you know, Neil was the guy who got us there. I mean, I don't think people really realize that Neil kind of came back from injury and really played well at the very end. The AFC Championship game, he had a great game. And, you know, honestly, it wasn't his MO. He didn't throw many interceptions, you know, during his career, especially during that season he didn't. So I think maybe he got a lot of heat. But, you know, if he throws those, you know, we win the game, he gets all the praise.
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of hard to say, but, you know, I think that last interception really put the nail in the coffin, because I think we would have won that game if he doesn't throw that interception. I think we would have found a way, but, you know, it wasn't that way. And I know Neil was a competitor. I'm sure he was trying to do everything in his power to win the game, but it didn't happen that way.
I know, no knock on Larry Brown. He was a good player, but boy, he got that big payday by the Raiders after that Super Bowl. I could have made those picks. They were thrown right to him.
I mean, you know, he stood there. You know, it's basically not moving, being in the right position, being in the right alignment, and that's how it happened. He caught it, and that was it. I mean, like, man. I mean, those were gifts. I mean, those what you truly call it football gifts, when it just lands in your lap. You know, just come out of nowhere. You don't really do much, but just stand there. And that's what he did. And, man, he got paid on that one. He really did. But I think with Larry, it's kind of funny. You can see on his face the shock.
Oh, yeah, that came right to him.
I mean, I don't think he believed that he could catch 2 interceptions that would be that big.
He was the MVP of that Super Bowl, I believe, right?
He was MVP of that Super Bowl, yeah.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
No,
yeah, I was a little disappointed. I wanted to win that one.
Oh, you had a big game. And the whole defense, I mean, Greg, I was always a big Greg Lloyd fan. I liked you a lot, and I liked Lloyd and Kevin Green that year. And you guys had Rod Woodson, Carnell Lake, Chad Brown. What was it like playing with that group of guys on defense?
It was awesome because, you know, the great thing is that when you play with really good players, they help you become better because they work hard. You have to work hard. And although we're a team, you know, personally, those guys are there to push you. And you can see great examples of how to work. And Greg Lloyd was a tremendous worker, hard worker. I really don't think he gets his due as far as linebackers are concerned. He was a real, truly great linebacker. And you know, it's a shame that he may not probably ever get in the Hall of Fame because this guy could flat out ball. And during his time, for whatever short period that was, man, he might have been one of the most feared defensive players, you know, during the 90s.
Now, you also played for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2002, I believe, for Andy Reid?
Right.
And that was your same type of thing, NFC title game. You guys played the Bucs. Me being here in Tampa Bay, that was my first year living in Tampa Bay. That Super Bowl against, that NFC title game against the Bucs. You know the track record. The Eagles own the Bucs, beat them in the playoffs 2 years earlier, 2 back-to-back times actually, to 2 years before. Going into that game, did you expect that performance by Tampa Bay?
I really didn't want to play. You know, there's matchups that you don't particularly want. I mean, you play. But as a player, you know, man, this is going to be a tough one. I really wanted to play. I wanted the Giants to beat the 49ers because I felt like the Giants had a better chance of beating Tampa Bay.
Right.
So when the 49ers won that game, I was pretty disappointed because I knew they were not going to beat Tampa Bay. And I felt coming into the game that we had the pressure on us. I mean, we were playing at Philly. You know, they are craving a Super Bowl. There's so many distractions that week. And as a veteran player, you're trying to, like, hey, guys, we got to get it done. Doesn't matter that we play home field advantage. And it seemed like it was set up for us. You know, it seemed like all the stars have fallen in place. You know, Donovan came back. But in my opinion, I don't think Donovan was quite ready. I would have went with a Philly kid, even though you're thinking Donovan would give us a better shot. I thought the kid was playing within himself, and he wouldn't force anything. He would kind of play within the game plan. And I think it put a lot of pressure on Donovan. Donovan just came out of Brofoot, and, you know, Tampa Bay had a formidable defense. I mean, they were a great defense.
Warren Sapp,
and it was, you know, it was going to be hard for us to score anyway. So I felt like, you know, that was a game that, you know, you could fall into. It's an easy trap to fall into. It really was. Hey, you own this team. You beat them every year. They never play well in the cold weather. I mean, just really silly stuff that you have to look at and say, okay, when you go through it and you understand how things can go. That was the game that I wasn't that at ease with. I really wasn't. And we came out and we drove the ball right down on the score. And it reminded me of the San Diego Charger game. I'm like, okay. And you try not to put that in your mind, but you're like, okay, boy, this may not, you know, just got to keep calm. But, you know, they kept playing. And that was for them, they're on the road.
Right.
They had absolutely nothing to lose. And sometimes I feel like the road team in that situation plays better because there's no distractions on them. They're totally focusing in on football, and they did. They came out there and they played well, and we didn't play as well, and therefore, you know, that was my last game ever. So, you know, there's another, you know, I thought that maybe, you know, it was another chance for me to get to the Super Bowl. It didn't work out. And But you never know. I may have another chance to get in there one day. Maybe I think I'll coach and win that Super Bowl one day.
I hope
That's
so.
what's gonna happen.
Because I have a lot of Steeler fans listening tonight. A huge fan of yours. You're two-time Pro Bowler, all-decade team from the '90s. Great linebacker, and I'm glad I had you on the show tonight, Levon. This is like one of my favorite interviews, and you're always one of the best to watch. I mean, just beast of a linebacker.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I really took a lot of pride in playing the position. I thought it was by its role, I think middle linebacker, inside linebacker, you're definitely a leader. And it's a tough, grimy kind of position, and I like that. I always like being physical like that. So it was a joy for me to play that. And you know, I want to just give that love back, and I get an opportunity to coach at FAMU now, and I'm coaching the linebackers, and I want to give that back to them, and hopefully I continue to grow as a linebacker coach, and you never know, man, I get a chance to finally win that Super Bowl.
Well, we'll definitely want you back on the show, and we wish you luck at FAMU this year, and it was great to have you on, Levon. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. Anytime you want me on the show, please let me know.
Okay? I appreciate that. Well, you have a great night, Levon. We'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. Levon Kirkland, great guest, great interview. Steeler fans, one of the best linebackers in Steeler history. But I want to thank him for coming on the show. It was a great show. We'll see what happens. Is Urlacher going to be a Bear after this week? We'll find out. We'll talk about it next week. Talking Sports with CJ on SportsSlamRadio.com. It's Talking Sports with CJ and Fonz on SportsSlamRadio.com. It's sports hardcore and fully uncensored.